January 2025. While headlines scream about politics, something unprecedented is reshaping global power. Not through wars, not through sanctions, through profit margins. Donald Trump just orchestrated what economists are calling the largest commercial diplomacy experiment in modern history. $2 trillion in alleged deals, partnerships that shattered diplomatic precedent, a Pakistan gamble that left seasoned ambassadors and critics speechless. But here's what mainstream media missed. This isn't just about Trump. It's about a fundamental shift in how nations wield influence. From your energy bills to your job prospects, these changes are already rippling through your daily life. 3 controversial strategies, 1 radical philosophy, and a complete reimagining of American power that has allies worried and competitors scrambling. Welcome to the age of commercial diplomacy. Let's unpack what it means and whether it actually works. For 70 years, American diplomacy followed a sacred playbook: export democracy, build alliances based on shared values, lead with moral authority. Then came a real estate mogul who flipped the script with one heretical question: what if profit could achieve what principles couldn't? Traditional diplomacy crawls. Months of cultural exchanges, years of relationship building, decades to see meaningful results, if any. Commercial diplomacy? It moves at business speed. Sign contracts in days, transfer capital in hours, start construction tomorrow. But here's the seismic shift most analysts are missing. Trump isn't just changing tactics, he's redefining power itself. Old paradigm: align with our values and prosperity will follow. New paradigm: share prosperity and alignment becomes inevitable. Doctor of the Center for Strategic Studies warns, we're witnessing the commoditization of foreign policy. Everything has a price tag now. But Trump's architects counter with cold math. Traditional diplomacy democratized exactly 0 authoritarian regimes in the past decade. Commercial partnerships? They've already shifted 3 countries' strategic alignments in under 2 years. The question isn't whether this works. Early data suggests it does. The question is, at what cost? And what happens when everyone starts playing by these new rules? Strategy number 1. Lead with the ledger, not the lecture. Here's the playbook in action. The Saudi Gambit. When started gravitating toward Beijing, traditional diplomacy would have lectured them about human rights. Trump's team? They offered the deal of the century. According to Reuters, $600 billion in infrastructure commitments. The Wall Street Journal reported $142 billion in defense contracts, the largest arms package in U.S. history. The result? Saudi Arabia didn't just stay in America's orbit. They became economically dependent on American success. When oil prices spiked last year, one Treasury call brought them down. Why? Because Saudi profits now rise and fall with American economic health. The Gulf domino effect. Qatar and UAE followed identical patterns, combined $400 billion in reported deals that created financial dependencies, not just partnerships. But critics like Georgetown's Dr. warn, when you make everything transactional, you lose leverage when the transaction goes bad. Here's the counter-argument from Treasury data. European tech consumers saw prices drop 20% thanks to UAE's AI research investments. Asian supply chains gained 15% efficiency through Gulf partnerships. Sometimes everybody wins. The genius most miss. These aren't just transactions, they're psychological locks. When a country has hundreds of billions riding on your success, they literally cannot afford your failure. The business lesson? Instead of demanding loyalty, make yourself financially indispensable. But the boldest and most controversial test? Syria. For 13 years, the Western consensus was ironclad. Assad must go. No deals, no compromise, no engagement until regime change. Trump looked at the same devastation and saw different math. Syria needs an estimated $2.5 trillion to rebuild. American construction giants need massive projects. Assad needs legitimacy. Everyone needs something. So Trump did the unthinkable. According to Foreign Policy magazine, he quietly lifted key sanctions. Not because Assad reformed. He didn't. Not because Syria democratized. It hasn't. Because American businesses could profit there. The foreign policy establishment erupted. Former Secretary of State called it legitimizing brutality for profit. Trump's team had cold calculations. We're creating dependencies that make conflict counterproductive. The stunning result, according to intelligence sources cited by CNN, Syrian intelligence began sharing actionable terrorist intelligence with the CIA within 6 months. Why? Because Syria now hosts American contractors rebuilding their cities. Attack American interests, you attack your own economic lifeline. The moral complexity. Is this pragmatic brilliance or ethical bankruptcy? Former UN ambassador argues, you can't wash blood with dollars. Trump supporters counter, moral purity accomplishes nothing. Pragmatic engagement saves lives. The data? Mixed. Terrorist incidents in Syria dropped 40%, but political freedoms remain non-existent. The business insight. Sometimes your most profitable partnerships come from the most unexpected and morally complex places. Strategy number 2. Replace diplomats with dealmakers. Traditional ambassadors speak fluent protocol. Commercial diplomats speak fluent profit. Enter Howard Lutnick and Stephen Witkoff, not career State Department officials, but Wall Street titans who've closed billion-dollar deals before their morning coffee. The speed difference is staggering. State Department protocols required 18 months for a basic Qatar trade framework. S-Team, 72 hours for a $243 billion result, according to Bloomberg. Why the acceleration? Business people understand what diplomats often don't. Time, literally, is money. Every negotiation day costs opportunity. Witkoff's Middle East approach follows identical logic. No lengthy cultural orientation. No months of relationship building. Just 2 laser-focused questions. What do you want? And what's it worth to you? The risk factor. Bad diplomatic deals strain relationships. Bad business deals can trigger wars. But here's what critics miss. Business people are actually more risk-averse than career diplomats. Why? Personal financial exposure. A diplomat who negotiates failure gets reassigned to another desk. A dealmaker who brokers disaster loses their personal fortune. This creates superior accountability. When your own wealth depends on success, due diligence becomes religion. The controversy. Career Foreign Service officers feel sidelined. Former Ambassador John Smith told Politico, "You're treating sovereign nations like real estate deals." The counterpoint, real estate deals have higher success rates than diplomatic initiatives. Strategy 3. The most controversial. If they can generate profit, consider them partners. The Pakistan paradox. According to the State Department's own terrorism report, Pakistan hosts 15 U.S. designated terrorist organizations. Traditional diplomacy demanded, eliminate terrorists first, trade later. Commercial diplomacy asked a heretical question. What if massive trade made terrorism economically suicidal? Trump's team floated a $50 billion zero-tariff package with Islamabad. Foreign policy veterans were horrified. India, America's crucial regional ally, was furious. It's like inviting your business rival to an incredibly profitable party. They show up with valuable information to stay invited. The unexpected outcome. According to Reuters intelligence reporting, Pakistan began sharing unprecedented data on Chinese military movements near disputed borders. Why this sudden cooperation? Because $50 billion in trade revenue made exclusive dependence on Beijing financially stupid. The China complexity. Despite being America's primary strategic competitor, Trump's team negotiated $400 billion in expanded Chinese investments in American infrastructure, according to the Financial Times. Former National Security Advisor calls this dangerously naive. She argues, economic integration didn't prevent World War I. Why would it prevent conflict with China? Trump's economic team counters with data. Mutual financial interdependence has prevented every potential U.S.-China military escalation since 1990. The philosophical divide. Should America only partner with democracies, or should profit determine partnerships? History suggests both approaches have spectacular failures and surprising successes. This represents more than tactical shifts. It's a fundamental reimagining of how power operates in the modern world. Traditional diplomacy hypothesis: share our values, and prosperity will eventually follow. Commercial diplomacy hypothesis: share prosperity, and value alignment becomes inevitable. The old model required generational timescales. How long did democratizing Germany take after World War II? Japan? South Korea? Decades of military occupation plus massive economic investment. The new model promises results in fiscal quarters. Saudi Arabia shifted from Beijing curious to Washington dependent in under 24 months. Core principles of commercial diplomacy. First, mutual profit creates stronger bonds than shared ideology. Consider U.S.-China trade. Despite everything, American companies still conduct $750 billion in annual business there. Second, economic dependency proves more reliable than military alliances. NATO allies regularly disagree with American foreign policy, but countries with hundreds of billions invested in American success? They can't afford disagreement. Third, prosperity builds stability faster than pressure. You can sanction regimes for decades without behavioral change, but give their economy a stake in cooperation. Change happens overnight. The academic divide. Harvard's Kennedy School published research showing economic integration reduces conflict probability by 67%. But Stanford's Hoover Institution countered that the same integration can fund authoritarian entrenchment. The historical precedent. Is this the art of the deal, applied to geopolitics? Or is it the return of 19th century dollar diplomacy that critics blame for decades of instability? Early Trump administration data suggests higher success rates than traditional approaches, but sustainability remains unproven. So, who comes out on top in Trump's commercial diplomacy revolution? Who gets left behind? And what's the real cost of rewriting the global playbook? The winners are clear. American workers are cashing in. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports 450,000 new manufacturing jobs tied to these deals. Gulf economies are swimming in infrastructure cash, with Saudi Arabia alone securing $600 billion in projects, per Reuters. European consumers? They're saving 20% on tech thanks to UAE's AI investments. Asian markets? Supply chains are 15% leaner, according to Bloomberg. Even Indian startups are riding a $5 billion Gulf investment wave. This isn't just wealth, it's leverage. Countries tied to American prosperity don't just win, they're locked into America's orbit, unable to break free without tanking their own economies. But the losers? Just as clear. Traditional allies like Germany and France feel sidelined, watching America cozy up to profitable but problematic partners. The diplomatic corps, decades of expertise, now sits on the bench as Wall Street closers steal the show. China's Belt and Road? It's losing ground as nations pivot to America's faster, flashier deals. And the biggest losers? Populations under authoritarian regimes, where American dollars might be propping up oppression instead of liberation, according to Human Rights Watch. Now, the hidden price, and it's steeper than you think. This isn't just about dollars and deals. It's about what happens when power becomes a transaction. Risk 1. Loyalty for sale. Former CIA director nails it. You can't buy loyalty, only temporary cooperation. What happens when a partner's bank account outweighs their handshake? The Georgetown 2025 analysis warns that transactional alliances crumble under pressure. Think 1970 oil embargoes, but with modern stakes. Risk 2. Empowering tyrants. American investments are rebuilding Syria's cities, but they're also funding as surveillance state. Human Rights Watch documented a 30% spike in digital oppression tech in 3 U.S. partner countries. Are we trading short-term stability for long-term oppression? Risk 3. Alienating allies. NATO's unity is cracking as America prioritizes profit over history. When a real crisis hits, say, a Russian move on Eastern Europe, will traditional allies stand with a nation that's been shopping for new friends? History says no. Look at Britain's isolation after its 19th century trade-first policies. Risk 4. The boomerang effect. By making everything transactional, America's handing competitors a playbook to weaponize economics against us. China's already adapting. Financial Times reports Beijing's new Belt and Road deals now mimic Trump's speed and scale. What happens when the student outsmarts the master? The global race is on. India's cutting deals in Southeast Asia. Russia's pitching energy partnerships to counter American influence. Even the EU is rethinking its moral high ground strategy. Trump didn't just change the game. He unleashed a global scramble where every nation's a deal maker and every deal's a gamble. Here's the mic drop truth. Commercial diplomacy delivers results. Faster, bigger, and bolder than anything in the old diplomatic playbook. But it's a high-stakes bet on a world where profit trumps principle. If it works, we get a golden age of prosperity-driven peace. If it fails, we're left with a world where no one's loyal, everyone's for sale, and the only currency is power. The question isn't just who wins or loses. It's whether we're ready to live in a world where everything has a price tag. Are you? The ability to create wealth matters more than the ability to project force. We enter an age where profit prevents conflict. Here's the trillion-dollar question. Is commercial diplomacy the future of international relations, or a dangerous experiment that ends in chaos? If it succeeds, military power becomes secondary to market power. Ideological alliances give way to economic partnerships. If it fails, catastrophically. Economic partnerships prove fragile during genuine crises. Authoritarian regimes use American investment to strengthen oppression. Traditional allies abandon America when threats emerge. We get the worst of both worlds, neither moral leadership nor reliable partnerships. The immediate impact on your life. These deals directly influence job markets, energy costs, supply chain stability, and economic opportunities in your region. Whether you're job hunting in Michigan or buying gas in California, commercial diplomacy affects your wallet. The global reset. The next 5 years will determine whether Trump's commercial revolution becomes the new international standard or a cautionary tale about treating nations like balance sheets. What's certain? The 70-year-old rulebook of international relations is finished. A new game has begun, with new winners, new losers, and new rules that everyone is still learning. The strategic question. In a world where everything has a price, who can afford to pay? And who decides what's for sale? Understanding these dynamics isn't academic. It's essential for navigating the world. Your career, investments, and future will operate within. Trump didn't just change American foreign policy, he initiated a global paradigm shift that other powers are racing to copy or counter. Whether you find commercial diplomacy brilliant or terrifying, ignoring it isn't an option. Because these aren't distant geopolitical abstractions. They're the economic and political forces reshaping the world your career, investments, and children will inherit. What's your take? Is profit-driven diplomacy the pragmatic future of international relations? Or are we sacrificing essential principles for short-term economic gains? The debate matters because the outcome affects everyone. Share your perspective in the comments, especially if you disagree. The best insights often come from the strongest counter-arguments. If you found this analysis valuable, that like button helps us reach more people navigating these complex global shifts. And subscribe to the Capital Compass. We decode the economic and political currents reshaping business and geopolitics so you can stay ahead of the trends instead of reacting to them.